My family really, really helped keep me up. Like, they were my biggest supporter. First time I took all my bandages off to look at it, and I remember just crying in the shower, and my husband was trying to help me wash my hair, and I remember Kinley saying, "Mommy, you still look pretty even without your boobs."
Welcome to The Bright Side of Life, a podcast where people share their personal stories of struggles, pain, and grief, but through all of that, they are still able to find the joys in life. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The Bright Side of Life. I am your host, Melissa Bright. Today I'm talking with Nicole, who is a breast cancer survivor, and she's going to share her story of when she was diagnosed and her journey the last 2 years. Hi, Nicole. Thank you for coming on today to share your story. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your family.
Okay, I live in Wentzville, Missouri. I will be 39 this year. I have married for, don't put me on the spot there, 7 years. We have 4 kids, one that's going to be 18 in December, one that's 9, one that'll be 7 in November, and 4 next month. So we are very busy, constantly with sports, soccer, whatever. My husband works nights, so a lot of times I'm on my own, kind of doing the whole single mom thing, I guess you can say, because he works a lot of hours for us. But I'm able to stay home because of that, and currently homeschooling one child, and then the others are kind of doing back and forth virtual learning and at school for now.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's just get into what happened in December of 2018.
So we're done having kids, so I figured I will get an OB that's closer to home just for my regular yearly visits. I had the same OB for 3 of the kids. So I went to just my regular yearly appointment and was talking to her about my history of breast cancer. I have it on my mom's side. My mom had precancerous cells at the time. I don't think they really use those terms anymore. So she had a double mastectomy. My grandma had it, my grandma's sister, just a long family tree of it. But then I also have it on my dad's side, my grandma on my dad's side, and my aunt. So I was talking to her about it, just like I have previously with other doctors, and she wanted to start having me monitored every 6 months just to be close to it. My mom was 39, I think it was, when she had her surgery. So typically whenever you're diagnosed, they want you to start being watched closely 10 years prior to when my mom was. So I should have been watched 10 years before that. So she wanted to go ahead and schedule just a routine mammogram. So I went ahead and made that appointment as soon as I left for the breast center, just to have my yearly mammogram. Mm-hmm. And then in 6 months, I would do like an MRI. So every 6 months, she wanted to rotate just to be watched closely. So I went ahead and made that appointment. And then I had my first mammogram, which was scary, but not really as scary, I think, as everybody can make it out to be. I mean, yes, it hurts a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. And I knew I was doing it for a good reason. Yeah. So that same day I had my mammogram, I went to see the breast surgeon. It's just how their routine works in that office. And the breast surgeon had my results at that time, and it showed just a little bit of some calcification, which is just some little like deposits in my breast tissue. So she recommended doing a repeat mammogram, I guess more invasive one, to look at a little bit closer. From there, we went ahead and made my next appointment for my mammogram to repeat it. And then at that time, they told me I needed to do the biopsy. And then I'm Googling everything, looking at Dr. Google in between, which was a horrible idea. I know you're not supposed to do it, but how are you not supposed to?
Exactly.
We went in and my mom took me for my biopsy, and that was really interesting. I did a stereotactic biopsy. So you laid face down on the bed, and they had needles that just kind of jabbed up and took different pieces of my tissue out. That was pretty painful. And then I was supposed to get my results within a week, she said, but I actually got the call the next day. My doctor called me that night, like at 6:30 in the evening. I was home alone with all the kids, and I knew as soon as she called, she had my answer. And I guess I already prepared myself for it just because I made it this far into all the testing. So when she called, I immediately just started bawling, even though when she called me, it was somewhat the best news I could have for being diagnosed with breast cancer because I caught it as early as possible. When I caught it, it was still in my milk ducts, so it didn't have a chance to go outside and spread anywhere throughout my body. So it was considered stage 0, and they call it DCIS, which is ductal carcinoma and two. So that was like the best. I mean, if I was going to have it, this is what you wanted to have.
Right.
I couldn't have caught it any earlier.
Yeah.
So that was kind of a blessing at the same time.
So tell me about whenever you had met with a genetic counselor, I guess. What is a genetic counselor?
Yeah. So actually, when I was in the process of in between appointments to have my biopsy, they recommended I go see a genetic counselor. So I was able to get that appointment pretty fast. So when you go into a genetic counselor, they get your health of your family, like your family tree. So she was able to look at all of my family who had breast cancer in the past and ovarian cancer, because those kind of run side by side in a way. So when I was pregnant 7 years ago, I had met my deductible, and I did genetic testing. At that time, it was the BRCA1 and the BRCA2 genes that were the big genes that they tested for. They're the most common for hereditary breast cancer and ovarian cancer. So when I tested at that time, it was negative. So I kind of assumed I was out of it. Like, oh, I don't have the genes. I don't have to worry about it. Well, when I went to the genetic counselor, she told me there's like 32 other genes. They've learned so much in those 7 years that you could be tested for. So actually, she was more concerned with ovarian cancer than she was for breast cancer, the genetic counselor. But I was more adamant about breast cancer because that's just what I knew, and that was a lot of in my family.
Right.
So she wanted me to do the genetic counseling or the genetic test for the other genes, but she recommended I get life insurance before I would be tested, because if I would come up positive one of these, then I would be denied for life insurance, which I have life insurance at through my husband's employer, but she's recommended a secondary insurance. In that meantime, I was already having my biopsy and was diagnosed. So I didn't have a chance to get that life insurance, which is a huge lesson learned. It was denied when he renewed his insurance, and I can't get it privately for 5 years, I think it is.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that was a huge thing that I would have never thought of. And if I would have had more time and everything didn't progress so fast with my appointments, I possibly could have gotten it. But it takes 30 days to get your life insurance. So there was no way I had time to get it before my diagnosis.
Right.
So that was definitely an eye-opener.
Now I'm sure you tell everybody.
Yeah, like my insurance agent, she's like, can I make a post about this? Because I mean, it really is important. Like, you think you're covered and you're fine, but you really never know when you're going to need it, even if it's not, like for death, like just to actually have the policy itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're back. You were talking to your doctor. You're in your living room alone, and she just gave you your diagnosis. What were you feeling in the moment? I know you said that you were crying, but do you remember any thoughts that you specifically had in that moment?
Well, I was home with the kids, and when she called, I just started crying automatically. And I had my oldest try to keep the little ones away, but everybody knew that I was upset. And I was trying to get a hold of my husband at work. He wasn't answering his phone. I tried calling I didn't want to call my mom because I knew my mom, I just knew how she would react.
Right.
So she wasn't really the first person that I called. So I tried calling my husband, then I called my best friend. I just remember sitting in the closet, just crying, scared, but also it was kind of weird. Like, at the same time, I was almost thankful, because if I didn't catch it then, it could have been a lot worse. Like, I was very, very lucky and like blessed to catch it when I caught it. Like, I could not have had a better time to catch it. If I wouldn't have changed OBs, I don't know when I would have caught it. Like, it would have been when I actually maybe felt sick or something, like, who knows how it would have been. Very scared. I didn't want my kids to know it was cancer, because I didn't want them to think cancer is death. So, what you see on TV, like, there's just so much out there that we didn't really know how to explain. So once I was able to get a hold of my husband, I did call my mom, and I didn't tell her. I just said, I need you to come over, which I'm sure she knew by that point. So she came over. I cried more. I cried a lot. I didn't really feel alone, because I knew I had my family's support. It was a lot of emotions at one time, and I just remember crying and crying. And it was almost like a pregnancy hormones, because after that diagnosis, I cried. You looked at me wrong, I could probably cry. I saw a commercial, I could cry. It was just very, very draining, and everything ran through your head a mile a minute. So
Right.
we told the kids that my boobs were sick. We just told them that they were sick and they needed to have surgery. We never
That's about
used
the
the
best
word, yeah, I mean,
explanation for kids.
right, we never used the word cancer for them until my surgery was done and they knew I was okay. They understood. And they were kind of like my biggest rock. Like they were very helpful. They all saw a lot. I mean, Kenley saw me right after surgery without any boobs. Like she was
Right.
changing that's my 6-year-old. She was changing my dressing. Like there's a lot that they saw that they didn't really have to see for their age and know and worry about at the time.
Right.
But now it's just normal for them to, today Kessler said, don't pick me up, you're going to hurt your boobs. Like now it's just normal for them to talk about it, which in the house, any other house, they might not really talk about boobs. Like it's nothing.
Right. But that's
Now
good
they're just used
because
to it.
you kind of like want to normalize it, and it just doesn't make it. It was such a serious and like emotional thing, and now that you know that you are okay, it is something that's great that they can kind of like laugh and there's jokes about it.
Right.
Because for, well, I don't want to say quite a while because everything did happen rather quickly.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, now we can finally joke about it. I do want to go into the surgery itself, what you were feeling whenever you did find out that you had to get the surgery, and then tell me about the day of the surgery. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. I was actually introduced to BetterHelp by my boyfriend because earlier this year I was in such a deep, dark depression and I didn't know what to do. I had to literally text him to tell him what was going on with me because I was so ashamed that I was sad, and I didn't even want to ask for help, and texting was the easiest way that I could do that. And that night, we literally signed me up to do BetterHelp. That's just a little bit of my story, and I feel like if this can help somebody else with struggling of feeling alone and not asking for help, that's why I want to talk about their service. So BetterHelp is the leading provider of online counseling, which is exactly what I loved about them, is that it was online. And there's 4 ways that you can talk to your counselor. You can do a video session, there's phone calls, live chat, and messaging. And every counselor is licensed by their respective state and has over 3,000 hours of experience. BetterHelp is worldwide, so you can access them from any country, and there's counselors that will speak a wide variety of different languages. And you're going to be matched with a counselor within 24 hours or less. When being matched with your counselor, it's not a one-size-fits-all, so you do have the choices of picking the type of counselor. If you want a male or female counselor, if you want a counselor that's a little bit older, you are going to have options that fit your specific needs. You can message them anytime, day or night, and they get back to you in a timely fashion. What I also love is BetterHelp offers a broad expertise in their network, so it provides users with access to specialists that they might not be able to find locally. BetterHelp is not a crisis line, but it's a place where you can speak to a therapist if you are in need of help. The most important thing to me was the affordability, and that's exactly what BetterHelp is. They do make it affordable for people, especially in these times right now. And if you can't, they do have financial aid for those people that do qualify. So visit betterhelp.com/brightsideoflife. That's betterhelp.com/brightsideoflife. Join over 500,000 people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. And for your first month, you're going to receive 10% off by being a listener of The Bright Side of Life. So let them know that I sent you by using the link betterhelp.com/brightsideoflife. That's betterhelp.com/BRIGHT side of life. The link will also be in the description section of this episode.
Actually, when I had the diagnosis, I already had my appointment with the plastic surgeon because when I should have said this at the beginning. When I first went into this, I was once I had the scare and started talking, I was interested in maybe just doing this before I had breast cancer, like prophylactic. So I already had made the appointment with the plastic surgeon at that time because that's the route I was wanting to look at possibly. So I already had the appointment, which was on the Thursday after I was diagnosed, which was convenient because I didn't have to wait a long time to get into him. And when I went in, my husband and mom went with me. and we loved him. We loved everything about him. I didn't think I had to get any other opinions. We were very comfortable with him. My plastic surgeon and my breast surgeon worked amazing together. So I was very comfortable with their decisions, and they kind of led me in what route to take. Not everybody gets reconstruction after they have the mastectomy. I chose to do reconstruction. I felt comfortable being in their hands for surgery, but of course it was very, very emotional. I took pictures before I went, like that was the last time my body was going to look that way. It's not like you're pregnant and you're going to look back to yourself in 9 months. Like that was it. My boobs are going to be gone. I threw away bra, like I knew everything was going to be different about me afterwards. Really, it was a lot of tears and worrying in the meantime. But I do remember when I woke up, I felt like the weight was lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I did it. That was the hardest part, was getting in the door for the surgery. And when I woke up, I just knew that the worst parts past me were going to move forward. I didn't feel the best. I was in quite a bit of pain, but
yeah, this is the mastectomy, right? Not the reconstruction. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So they took that out and actually put in what you call an expander. So it was kind of like a temporary implant, like a balloon basically, and it wasn't inflated. So every week I would go in once a week, and they would find, there's like a magnet that was in me, and they would fill it up with some saline. So they were stretching out my muscle, my skin, to put the implant in. So once a week I would go in and they would fill me up, which was something else that was kind of interesting to watch as your chest is growing by one simple appointment. Right. It was very painful. It was painful after the fact because everything was stretching out. And I feel like once you started feeling better, it was time to go back to that appointment to get filled again.
Did you have any kind of like meds or anything?
I did at the beginning, and I took it for a couple days. I'm not really big with taking pain pills. I just don't like how they make me feel and groggy. But I definitely needed them the first couple days. And then I would maybe take a muscle relaxer before my fill appointment, because my implants are under the muscle. So that would kind of help relax the muscle and not be as much pain after the fact.
How long did it take from when you got your surgery to then reconstruction? I mean, was this quickly or?
So I think it was like 3 months. I had to wait 3 months when I was done with the fill. I want to say I had the surgery in February, maybe September is when I had my exchange. They call it exchange when they took my expanders out and put my implants in. So it's kind of, and it really, you could leave your expanders in for a period of time. So it's not like it's an emergent, keep them in, like you have to get them out right away. People can keep them in for a year. Yeah. So it was just what worked well with me.
What was it like? Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. What was it like those months while you were waiting? Were you able to do like your everyday tasks, or like, I know you have 4 kids.
So I couldn't lift anything, which is really hard when you 2-year-old, it's hard and you can't just pick them up. I couldn't put them in the car. I did a lot of physical therapy twice a week for a while to kind of help with my muscles and try to help me, like my body, to adjust and feel better. The expanders are really hard. They're kind of like rocks. So it was very uncomfortable. I slept on the couch a lot. You couldn't sleep on your stomach. Even sleeping on your side was uncomfortable. I had to wear a sports bra, so you couldn't. I remember wanting to dress up. We went somewhere, and my doctor's like, "Oh no, you have to keep your sports bra on." I had to like put a wrap. Like it was just
right.
It was a different way of life that you had to go about. You couldn't just get up and put a bra on and go. You had to think about what you were wearing, what you're doing. You couldn't lift. I couldn't work out for a while. Couldn't use any of those muscles. So I did gain weight through all this after it, which doesn't help your self-confidence when you already don't have a boob. It's just it just snowballed into
of emotions. So did you, like you were saying right there, it's a different way of life. You have to basically learn how to do a lot of different things that you wouldn't normally otherwise think about. Was there ever a moment that you got sad, or all of this kind of brought you down, or did you stay pretty positive throughout the whole thing?
I felt like I did a pretty good job staying positive, or maybe if I did, I was hiding when I was struggling. My family really, really helped keep me up. Like they were my biggest supporter. And I remember the first time I had a shower for the first time, and like the first time I took all my bandages off to look at it. And I remember just crying in the shower, and my husband was trying to help me wash my hair. And I remember Kinley saying, "Mommy, you still look pretty even without your boobs." And I don't know, without them, I couldn't have.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That's
I'm
so
already
awesome.
crying. I'm
Oh,
surprised I
that's
made it this
okay.
far without
We
tears.
cry on this podcast. I don't know if you knew that, but that's exactly what we do. So that is totally okay. Your daughter is so adorable. So I could just
Thank
see
you.
her saying
Yeah,
that.
she's definitely my little nurse and my rock star for sure.
Yeah. It's been about a year and a half, right? Since your surgery, would you say?
Yes. And
Okay.
I have had I just had another surgery recently, a reconstruction surgery. So when I had my surgery, I decided to keep my nipples on, which some people can and some people can't. But where my cancer was far enough away from my nipples that they weren't concerned with it coming back to my nipples.
Hmm.
Mentally, at the time, I think I needed to keep my nipples because that was all I had left of myself.
Right.
And as time went on and I learned more and I had friends that had cancer come back, I was like, why did I keep my nipples? Like, there's just one more place for cancer to come back because it can come back. Even if they take everything out and they think they have everything out, unfortunately, you still have a chance
Yeah.
of getting it. So, one of my nipples was facing a different direction a little bit. So when I went for a follow-up, I also had in between my chest, my muscle was kind of pushed up a little bit. So I didn't really have the actual cleavage like a normal person does. Like you could see the skin up further, I guess. I don't, kind of hard to explain without showing you.
Right.
So I was talking to my plastic surgeon and he was trying to figure out how we were going to get my nipple back where it needs to go, face in the right direction. And I said, honestly, I said, you can remove them because mentally I felt like that was almost wearing on me. I was so
Yeah.
worried about my cancer coming back in my nipple and I was regretting my decision to keep it. But at the time, that's what I felt was right. So he said, that's fine with me. They were not, you couldn't feel them. They like to be out, like so I had no purpose for them.
Right.
So we decided to go ahead and remove my nipples. So I just did this 3 weeks ago, actually. So I had my nipples removed, and then he did a reconstruction to he put my chest wall or my chest muscle back to my chest wall. So I'm back to not lifting anything until my next appointment in November. I can't vacuum. I can't do a lot of housework. I have a piece of rolled up gauze in between my chest to try to keep that muscle down. I can go get tattoos. They have 3D tattoo nipples that you would never be able to tell that it's not a real nipple.
Oh my
Or
God.
I can just get a really cool tattoo and I don't have to worry about when I'm all said and done. I don't have to wear a bra. I don't have to worry about anything showing.
Yeah.
So
That is
yeah. So
awesome.
that was my third surgery then because I had the reconstruction and then this one, just kind of another reconstruction. And hopefully I'm good for a while.
So you feel good? You feel healthy?
I feel like I made the right choice. I feel like a peace of mind now knowing that my nipples aren't there. Yes, it's always cancer. Like I think about it daily, unfortunately. My
Yeah.
doctor's like, don't worry about it. Like there's no, it's always going to be there. I'm always going to worry that something else is coming up. I have a really close friend that it did happen to, and she's battling now with stage 4. So I feel like
Oh,
it's always going to be on my mind because I'm also close to people that it's happened to.
right.
But like I said, being so early catching it, my chances are lower, but unfortunately, it's just going to be something that I'm going to worry about, think
Right.
about
Yep.
nonstop.
I understand that. Just kind of like the headspace, because I'm kind of guilty of this. The second I think that something is good, that's when I feel something bad could happen. And so it's like
Right,
you don't want to get out of that headspace. It's not
right.
necessarily great to be in it, but you're like, oh, the second I think I'm in the clear is when something happens. So
Yeah.
I understand that.
I did also, in May, I had my tubes removed, my fallopian tubes removed, because that also reduces the chance of ovarian cancer. And that is something else that I worry about so bad. Just
Mm.
having breast cancer, I'm so worried that I'm going to have ovarian cancer and I'm not going to catch it. Like,
Right.
oh, yes, I fought breast cancer and I caught it so early, but now what if I get this and I don't catch it early?
Right.
So when I had my tubes removed, it reduces your chance of ovarian cancer. Even though I'm negative for all the genes, I don't think we mentioned that. I ended up negative for all the genes when we tested that. There's clearly some gene that I have because it's so strong in my family to say that I don't have something. We just don't know about it yet.
Right. So October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it obviously helps to increase the attention and support for the awareness and early detection and treatment. Nicole and I are rocking our pink shirts for this month. Hers is way better than mine, but this is what I had. So we just want to bring awareness to that. But Nicole, she has a story with what she did after she has went through all of this. So Nicole, tell me just a little bit about what you're involved in now.
So when I chose to be very open about my journey with this, I wanted to let other people know that it can happen to anybody. You can be healthy. I wanted people just to be more aware of breast cancer. So I got involved with the American Cancer Society, and I applied to be a Portraits of Hope ambassador, which I was chosen for 2019, which was an amazing opportunity. So what that meant was I was kind of a spokesperson for, like about breast cancer. I did a lot of public speaking, which is totally out of my comfort zone. I did a lot of photo shoots, which is totally out of my comfort zone. But everything I did it to help other people. I did receive a couple messages on Facebook. Thank you so much for reminding me to get my mammogram, or, I have a family history. I didn't think I could get my mammogram. I didn't think it'd be covered by insurance. That's exactly why I did it. I wanted to help others. I wanted to bring it to attention. I feel like it's something that sometimes people don't really think about, or they're scared to go for that mammogram because they think it's going to hurt. Who cares? It's 2 minutes, you're done. Or they're in denial and they don't want to have to worry about it, or scared of the results. So I got very involved with making strides against breast cancer and the American Cancer Society. They actually offer a lot of support that I didn't know about at the time when I was going through. They offer a cleaning. You can have a maid service. They'll come clean your house twice, which is huge when you can't do anything. Even if you have family to help, like that's just a huge pickup. There's also a Hope Lodge that is in downtown, which they actually just redid. So if you live within a certain miles away from where your treatment is, they have a hotel for you to come and stay during your treatment. So people that come to St. Louis, a lot that live kind of far, and it's a lot, like you don't want to sit in the car for 2 hours after your treatment.
Right.
They have a hotel type place, and it's gorgeous. We went there and made dinner one night for people to stay.
That is
so they offer just a lot of stuff that I didn't even know about until.
Right. And you're still really active with that?
Yes. So now so that was last year as the Portraits of Hope. So for 2020, I'm on the chair, on the board for our big walk, which unfortunately is now going to be virtual thanks to COVID this year. So October 24th, we're going to do like a big virtual walk. And we do have some other fundraising opportunities beforehand that we're doing. It's definitely not going to be like it was last year with the walk, but we're still trying to do our best because cancer's still here. It's not going anywhere. Even if COVID's here, cancer's still here. So we're really trying to do what we can because people still need help. And now more than ever, really, because of just everything that's going on in the world.
Yeah. I want to grab that link from you after we're done talking about the virtual walk, so I can post that for people. After all this and where you are now, and you're still going through stuff every day, and I know you're such a strong advocate to bring awareness, what advice do you have for people? If you could give women advice, what would you say to them now?
Know your family history, ovarian cancer, breast cancer. Make your doctor's appointments, do your monthly exams, know your body. If you don't think something's right, not that I had any symptoms, but I know people do. If you feel that something's not right, then go to the doctor and get answers, because the earlier you catch this, the much better your journey through this will be. Know your body and don't be afraid to ask for help. Even if you are going through it, there's services out there, lots of support groups, even on Facebook. I learned a lot and have met some amazing people just on the Facebook support groups. We just kind of feed off of each other, good times and bad. Like some people might not have a good doctor's appointment, but then you have us to cheer you up, or you need advice, or maybe we've been through it before. Just don't be afraid to ask for help. And even when you're going through it, I'm not one that's going to ask for someone to make me a meal. I'm kind of just like, I'll do it. I had to learn. It was really hard. Like, it was really hard for me to sit down and not be able to help my kids and let people drop off dinners for us and not clean I had to learn to do it, and I didn't have a choice.
Right. Yeah. And that's awesome. And I know so many moms struggle with that. Just being a mom, you are the doer. You want to help. You want to make the
Right.
dinners for your kids, and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And sometimes it's hard to let that go. So, Nicole, in your own words, what does the bright side of life mean to you?
I'm gonna cry again. No matter what you're going through, find something positive about it. Find something bright. I've met some amazing people through my journey. I feel like I live life different now. Just do things to the fullest, because really you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, whether it's a diagnosis or like death. Like you just never, just live it through the fullest and find the bright side, because there's a bright side to everything that you do.
Yeah. That is such great advice, and I promise it's okay to cry, but you are totally right. And sometimes through tragedy there is light, and like you said, you've met so many amazing people. So Nicole, I want to thank you again for coming on
Thank
here
you.
and sharing this.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Bright Side of Life. I hope you enjoyed Nicole's story. She is really brave, and I admire her for how strong she is and for kicking cancer's butt. And I can't thank you all enough again for the continued support. So if you like this episode or any of the other episodes, I would greatly appreciate a review on Apple Podcasts. Lastly, if you know someone that may need to hear this story, please share it with them. We never know if this is the one that puts hope back in their hearts.